Just take some time. So tonight we're going to be in the book of Proverbs. I think it's chapter 17 and verse 3. It's Proverbs, chapter 17, verse 3. Remember those who got folks wanting to come but not able. Remember Sister Rachel. And some of them might be tuning in tonight. Well, I know she got a place to go. So thank you, sister. But we're going to do a book of Proverbs. So we'll continue tonight. I'll try not to get bogged down too much. Let me just say, hey, I had good conversation on Sunday night. It was good discussion. It just reminded me of what we really need more than ever in the world in which we live and where we're at now is to have the Word of God. I've got these marked in my Bible. Yeah, that's it. When I went to the book of Mark, and I went over these where it says, and he taught them. You see, he preached, and the Bible says here, and he taught them. In chapter 2 of the book of Mark, he taught them. Then in chapter 3, he began again to teach by the seaside. And it says, and he taught many things unto them. Over and over, we find how God, the Lord himself, he would teach and he would talk. And we've lost that art of taking time with the Bible to analyze and to look at it and to discern what the Lord is saying to us. You know, it's easy. I say it's easy to sit back and to just somebody preach at you and receive what you want. It's another thing to go through it. Proverbs 17, verse number 3, the finding pot is for silver and the furnace for gold, but the Lord trieth the hearts. By the way, these are just sayings. This is a beautiful proverb. It means if you're going to purify the gold, what do? Furnace. If you're going to purify the silver, you got the refining pot. But for the hearts of man, only God can make that pure. Only he can get out the bad. 4, a wicked doer giveth heed to false lips, and a liar giveth ear to naughty tongue. A wicked spends his time, what does it say? Bad things. He loves to hear something bad. A wicked doeth giveth heed to false lips. Here's something, doesn't matter if it's a lie, but he's going to give heed to it.
That's why the media got so much power, and the news.
Well, it's because people love it, right? Mm-hmm. They love to hear something like this.
If it's not true, they can tell it.
Yeah, I watched, today I watched 2 excerpts, and I watched about 10 minutes of Fox. I listened to the panel discussion last night from CNN. And it's amazing because you can almost tell what he's going to say. It makes sense. It's a spin on whatever's there. There's a little bit of truth, but that's about it. But that's what men love. They love those lies. Evil people, a liar listens eagerly to a spiteful tongue. They love to hear something bad, right? There used to be a ban on music. They used to hate for anybody to have music, especially when rock and roll came out. Remember? The rock and roll was just the devil, But music, we got music today that is, I can't find much good. It is really, really, and it influences our children so much, but people love a lying tongue. 5, different now. This is one, if you want to memorize some, this is a good one. Whoso mocketh the poor reproacheth his maker. He that is glad at calamity shall not go unpunished. And the word maker there is capitalized. You reproach the maker himself. When you see a poor person, you never laugh at them. It's not as much now, but we used to have poor people in America. They say we have poor people. I don't have that many. There were lots of poor people. And it was easy to mock them. He so mocketh the poor reproacheth his maker. He that is glad at calamities, By the way, it's a natural thing to be. There are things you say it's funny, but you know what he's talking about when he says glad at somebody's calamities. I'm sure I'm glad he lost that and he messed up because I can get that job now. I can get that there. Now I can move in and take over. I'm glad this happened. Somebody's failure. You don't want to see somebody fail. At calamities. It's wrong to be like that. You don't want to make a joke about somebody and put them down because they're poor. When I came up, you do it a lot because the defining one, when I was a young boy in school, it was those boys that had the patches for the knees because, you wore your pants until they wore out. Holes in your jeans was not a thing of pride. It's because they were wore out. You wore them for a long time. But the rich boys had the patches, and they'd pick on the guys that, mama had to put a piece of the cloth and sew it in there. It was just, and they looked down on you. It's wrong to do that, brothers and sisters. It says not be unpunished. Can't be like that. That's something God's very specific about. Listen, children's children are the crown of old men. Can I say that about women too? Grandchildren are the crown of old men, and the glory of the children is their father. Yeah, the father and his grandkids. It's like everything's complete now when you get those grandkids, Brother Andre. You got those grandkids. You men that's got them now, and how wonderful it is. But the children, when they get older, they honor their father. He says, and the children, the glory of the children are their fathers. As they rise up and they begin to see their father, they bring glory to him and honor him. 7, excellent speech becometh not a fool, much less do lying lips of a prince. Excellent speech becometh not a fool. You start looking at that. Why is excellent speech not becoming to a fool? Because who's going to believe him, right? Who's going to believe him? Probably no one. Because it's not becoming to him. It's not who he is. Excellent speech is not what you are going to hear from a fool. It's very unusual. It's odd. Same thing. There shouldn't be lying lips from a prince. It should be just as odd. That no. A prince should not be lying in the same fashion. A gift is a precious stone in the eyes of him that hath it. Whatsoever he turneth, it prospereth. Now, I went through that and I read David Guzik's commentary on this here, and it was a little different. A present is a precious stone, like in the eyes of a possessor. A man has got the present, and he's talking about using bribes. I really don't have a good understanding of that verse because he called it bribes, and I didn't really have a good answer. I can't interpret it well. Anybody got one when you studied it? That's what he says.
A
bribe.
He calls it a bribe.
Yeah. A precious stone or a bribe is in the eyes of all when he turns, he prospers. Yeah, bribes. My goodness, that's a terrible thing. But it says bribes and his, but a precious stone in the eyes of the possessor. Let me just read it for you as he would state it. It is human nature to regard a present as something precious. In its context, the present may be a bribe because the same word is used in the Hebrews. Reality in the viewpoint of one giving a bribe, it works. In the eyes of the possessor, it's precious. Still doesn't make much sense. So I'll be honest with you, I don't have a good answer unless you've got something better.
I know, say, Brad. It says.
Mine doesn't either. I'm saying that in what is the commentary. Another commentary say the same. Mm-hmm. Yeah, mine doesn't say it either. Mine just simply says it's like a precious stone. A gift is like a precious stone, and him that's got it, the gift, or which is if it's a bribe. Correct. And whether if he turns, it prospers.
That's like taking something bad and turning it good.
Yeah. It's that's a good way to look at it, sister. Move on to number 9. He that covereth a transgression seeketh love. He that repeateth the matter separateth the very friends. Now, he's not making the statement that we know that you're supposed to confess your faults one to another, but there are certain things you don't confess and the things you don't say out loud. And a person is trying to hide the transgression. He's not trying to say that he's trying to cover the sin, but he's trying to take care of the person that failed. He says, cover the transgression. He seeks love. He that repeateth the matter, in other words, he gossips about it, he separates very friends. In other words, he repeats the matter. He's a gossip. Yeah. Something bad happened, and you want to tell somebody else as opposed to saying, don't say nothing. As I don't think she would have backhanded me, but I said something one day, and she just looked at me like this, with that hand and I don't think she'd hit me, but my stepmother. step grandmother. She was I'd said something I didn't realize how bad it was.
Mm-hmm.
I just asked her. I said so and so, and I knew she was like 16. I heard so and so was pregnant. Shut your mouth, boy. That's the first, she said it just like that. Shut your mouth. You don't talk about people's family like that. You don't say nothing like that. And that's what she was bringing about. You don't say those things out loud. It brings disgrace to a family or it hurts someone else. But people like to take and gossip and tell what they know on something else. He says, don't do it. No. It'll separate friends. It'll destroy relationships. There's some things you don't need to know. I'm reminded that many years ago, I think I was out of residency, but it was one of those things that something happened many years ago, and somebody had a guilty conscience on the deathbed and started making some confessions. No. I mean, they were listening to a pastor, and Brother Glenn, I said, go to your grave with it. Don't tell nobody. Something happened years ago. Nobody knows. It's fine. Let it go. And of course, now when it happened, now they died and they left all these people with all these things that happened in the past, and it just destroyed the relationships. You don't realize. You say, you realize, why did you say that? Well, he told me, but it bothered my conscience, and wow. It was terrible. A reproof entereth more into the wise man than 100 stripes into a fool. That's a powerful. Now what he's making a reference to is a reproof entereth more into a wise man. In other words, a rebuke means more to a wise man than 1,000 stripes on a fool. Because he probably ain't going to change. Because the problem with the fool, the problem with this man is bad, it's his heart is bad. They're trying to keep a man that's corrected. You're going to, by then they have put the cane on him, the rod on him, and beat him. But it's better for a man to just rebuke a wise man. He'll receive it. It does so much more good than having to hit a man 1,000 times with the stripe. 100 times, 100 stripes on a fool, because he just ain't going to listen. He'll go right back to it. By the way, have you ever seen pedophiles? They got a law out that you can't be within a certain amount of space, isn't it? Yeah. How far you can't be around schools and daycares and
you have to register.
Yeah.
Register with law enforcement first.
So why do they put that stipulation in there that you can't be around schools?
He's gonna do it again.
So why do you let them out?
If
you know that to be true, why let them out? Well, that's one you just can't get cured from. Okay, just keep them in. You can't do that. Why not? Is it not better to take the people, keep them safe, than to put this guy out on the streets?
No, they'd rather change the law, say pedophile's not a sin. I mean, not
correct.
Not illegal.
I know.
It's also be a sin, but
yeah,
mm-hmm.
It's bad, but that's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
But again, here, let's go on. An evil man seeketh only rebellion. Therefore, a cruel messenger shall be sent against him. Yeah, an evil man, he wants rebellion. And a cruel messenger, it's coming. In other words, don't be surprised when trouble hits your house. Young man was, we had this guy, he was a bully, known like a bully in the community. And I talked to some folks and they said, yep, that's just who he was. And it was sad because he got gunned down in cold blood. He's only 14 years old. And, but he got gunned down. He crossed the wrong person, and he had stole from somebody and robbed some people, and didn't realize the family that knew him, the family that when he robbed, they didn't take it to heart. They ran him down right there and killed him in cold blood. He was a bully. Guess what? If you're a bully, if you're mean and you're hateful, keep on doing what you're doing. Troubles come. Well, God wouldn't do that. Let me tell you how he says it. A cruel messenger shall be sent to him. Let a bear be robbed of her whelps, meet a man, rather than a fool in his folly. You know how hard it is to meet a bear with cubs? Robbed of her cubs now. That's an angry, angry bear. It is better to meet that than a fool in his folly. That's the most dangerous thing. Get you into things you should never be getting into. Better to meet a bear robbed of her cubs than to A fool in his folly. Oh, you know how much trouble that is? But because they stay in trouble, they cause trouble, and they just desire to stay in trouble. You can't change them. Whoso rewardeth evil with good, evil shall not depart from his house. If you reward evil for good, if you see people do what's right and you reward them with evil, you're trying to get them boys off the street, you're trying to do what's right, and you reward evil, how much will the punishment come? By the way, I remind you, Christianity is the only religion that has true justice. No other religion has justice like God has justice. There's nobody else. Because even if you die, you don't get away with it. There is a judgment to come. And he's specific. Every thought, every intent of the heart will be judged. If you don't get it down here, you'll get it there. By the way, God does bring judgment on people even on the earth. So I can see it? No, because he wants to. You just have to understand who God is. He makes that decision. You remember the guy that picked up the sticks? Remember Nadab and Abihu? Sometimes God just comes down and kills them himself. I mean, he just has an anger and a fury. That's just the way he is.
Very young in the Bible. People say, man, there was a bunch of youngins that just playing. Was it Elijah?
Elisha. Yeah. Oh, from a bald head. Yeah. You think there's a certain times you realize you mess with God's man. Ooh. I mean, you just think about it. I mean, you read those scriptures, you'll find it. God's not like that. Yes, he is like that. He's just, no. Evil is not going to depart out of your house when you reward good for evil.
You know what I'm saying? Chastising children, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but again, you're training them.
Yeah.
It's not really a judgment. It's training them to be like God treats you. You train up a child the way he should go, which they learn about how there's authority, there is submission. They understand right, wrong, boundaries, etc. 14, the beginning of strife is as when one letteth out water. Therefore leave off contention before it be meddled with. The beginning of strife is like one that letteth out water. In other words, it's like letting out water means strife, you can't hold back the water. Once it gets started, you can't stop it. Strife causes that much trouble. When you get bad words and strife and contention, it's like water being released. It's hard to grab it and pull it back. You can't get it back. But he says, therefore, leave off contention before it meddles with it. Don't get, remember, a soft answer turns away wrath. Blessed are the peacemakers. Stop the contention before it starts. Because once it starts, it's going to cause a lot of trouble, and you can't get it back. You can't. Stop the contention before the quarrel starts. You see it getting out of hand. What's the movie we watched the other day with Speed Racer? Remember that night you watched it with me, didn't you? We watched Speed Racer. How many of you seen Speed Racer? 2007 movie. Oh, I love Speed Racer. The moral of the story is good guys always win and the bad guys always lose. You got to love that. That's why we love Cowboys and Indians, don't we?
Yep.
Not Cowboys and Indians, counting the bad guys. We love those when the good guy wins. But there's a place in there where it talks about this very thing, about strife for the first time in his life. And Dad says, we're going home. And Speed says, no, I'm not. What? And it's like, oh my goodness, here it goes. And it got big, and they were going after each other. And all of a sudden, Mom steps in very quickly and says, that's enough, you two. And she grabs them both. We're staying, Pops. That was it. And he knew it, but it was somebody stepped in and stopped the contention. I think about that because you say things you really should never say. And of course, in later Pops, he apologizes to Speed. Says, son, I should have never said those things. Your mama usually gets me before I say something foolish, but she couldn't catch me in time. And he says, you can always come back, son. I love you. And that's why you love stories like that, because somebody says, I was wrong. But this is a powerful thing. Stopping contention rather than letting it go. Yeah. I'm always astounded. This one may be different, this election. Do you remember the last election we had? Mm-hmm. I mean, on the Democrat and the Republican, they go to the primaries, right? They are slinging mud at each other like crazy. And then when they drop out, well, I endorse him. He's a good man. She's a good. All those things you just said about them. And they turn right around and you're like, I mean, just terrible things they say. Yeah. By the way, I mean, really, they talk about your children, your family, like they get personal. He that justifieth the wicked and he that condemneth the just, even they both are an abomination to the Lord. Both of them. What's the first one? Justifying the wicked, or that condemns the just. Now, I love if anybody use the Enduring Word Commentary. He had a great way to speak this. It was he said, sometimes we're trying to do the right thing. The justice system isn't perfect. When they came out with DNA, getting DNA, finding crimes, and you watch these files where these people are made innocent because the way the prosecutors did it, they spun the information and left things out to get the conviction, as opposed to understanding going after the truth. What is the truth? Right now, I'm going to defend and I'm going to prosecute. We hope it's going to be both sides will be equal. What you really find out is prosecutors should be trying to find the truth, and the ones defending the person should be trying to find the truth. You can't get that. It's hard for the judge to get it. However, so these men have been in prison, some of them many years, and they're being let out. How do you solve that problem? You know what the answer a lot of people have? Well, nobody should have to go to jail. That way you won't have any problem with that. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. You certainly will be able to say nobody went to jail falsely. So let me read it for you because I think you put it was the right way to put it. The proverb corrects the popular misconception that it is better to set free 10 guilty persons than to condemn one innocent person. Both are an abomination to the Lord. Both of them are. You don't condemn the guilt. You don't condemn the innocent. You condemn the just. There are people that are just, and condemning them, it's wrong. But it's also an abomination. It's both an abomination. You justify the wicked. A man done something wrong. You can't let him go. Our laws do not have correction within them. They're rehabilitation centers, I think now, many of our prisons. They're the rehab center to try to rehab a person, not from the alcohol and the drugs, but from the evil ways. By the way, let me tell you, you can't do it. I think the Lord said it about your children. Spare the rod, don't spare the rod. If you spare it, you're going to destroy your child. You hate them. But in the penal system, there should be punishment for people. What happens when you know what? They're going to come and they're going to confiscate your car. He lost something. What a man that lives on the streets ain't got nothing. Well, he's poor. He ain't got it. No, they did the same crime. Should they not feel the weight of it? By the way, all those legislators that voted for the gambling in North Carolina, and they said that all that money would go to our schools, and immediately it never made an impact. It never has. They still have to try to get Kleenexes and pencils and paper. They try to raise money for the schools, and that money was designated. They were liars.
And they still have the gall to call it
education
lottery.
Education lottery. And some of those people were duped into believing that it was a lie. But many of them, they did it because they liked the money. And by the way, how many of you see the commercial now with FanDuel? It's all over the apps on Roku. It's coming to North Carolina.
There's a lot of male college students that's addicted to it, and their parents is in about it.
Hey, you're over 18. Hey, you're over 18. That's your fault.
They're losing all their money.
Yeah, bring them home.
You got to, yeah.
Bring them home. That's all you got to do. But again, you don't want to do certain things. Seeing it as it is. So let me tell you, verse 15, how powerful this is. You don't justify wicked people, and you don't condemn people that are just, because both are an abomination. It's not one; both are. So those of you say, well, they're condemning these people that are right. There's just people. That's right. We're going to take care of that. But you can't be letting these people out and justifying them that are wicked. You justify the wicked? You can't do that. Well, they just got a problem with addiction. They stole, yeah, but it's because of so-and-so. It doesn't matter why they did it. They did it. Remember of mice and men? What happened at the end of the story? What happened to Lenny? He died, didn't he? You know why? Because his friend knew he's going to keep doing this. There's no way you get around this. But he's mentally handicapped. He couldn't help himself. He'll do it again. These are just things in society that really bother people. That's why we had Dorothea Dix, and we could help people. And now people with mental disease are placed on the streets, and they're being misused as pawns. And some of them, they can't get and by the way, they can't get the medicine they need. Many of them got things that you could really treat, but because there's no monies for that, we spend more money. How much money we spend on drug addiction? Look at the millions of dollars that go in drug addiction. We got people with mental illnesses, schizophrenia and others that medicine would help. You can't find a psychiatrist to take care of them. You can't find them anywhere. They're on a screen somewhere. There's nobody to take care of them. All that money. But that's because it's just the people that really need can't get it. It's sad. It's sad. So that's 15. Mine's marked in my Bible. I hit that one a long time ago because it's just that important about you don't let bad people get away, but don't justify the wicked, but don't take them people that are good and you condemn them. Wherefore is there a price in the hand of a fool to get wisdom, seeing he hath no heart to do it? Why is there in the hand of a fool the purchase price of wisdom? He has no heart for it. He doesn't care. It's casting pearls before the swine. They don't care. He doesn't want it. 17, a friend loveth at all times, and a brother is born of adversity. Wow. Friends love always. And in the middle of adversity, they'll be there for you. I remember a couple that had a problem, and they'd fell out with each other. But I remember the story they told me when that young boy, their 16-year-old, ran away from home, couldn't find him. Guess who was there that night with him? You know, in the middle of adversity, they was there. Man, I couldn't leave you like this. Sure, I know we had trouble, but that's my friend. You know who really loves you when trouble comes. He said a friend in adversity, them's the people you need. They don't run away from you. They're there to help you, you know? I think this is one of the most neglected things we ever find is people in need and nobody wants to help them. And there are people, I know that some people have caused it themselves. They still need help. And somebody take time with them. A friend look at the word adversity. Brother is born of adversity. Who's got the NIV could read that 17 for us?
A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity.
Born for it. Didn't change it any. Born for a real brother. Not a physical brother, but a brother that you know, a friend that's going to be there for you. A man devoid of understanding. A man void of understanding striketh hands and becometh surety in the presence of his friend. Wow. Striketh hands means he shakes hands on it. How many proverbs have we had about this? Don't sign for somebody else to borrow money. Don't sign for somebody else to get a new air conditioner, a new car. Don't make that play. Don't shake hands. How does he call him? Wherefore is the price of the hand of a fool to get, a man void of understanding. You ain't got much sense if you do that. He becomes its surety in the presence of his friend. He's become the one in charge of it. You don't know what's going to happen. Well, I think he's good. You know, no, he's just looking for a cosigner, you know, has no intention of paying it back. How do you know? How many of you know of anybody that got in a car wreck, got a bunch of money, a few $100,000, and it went right through their hands? Anybody know that?
Oh, yeah.
Plenty of them. Plenty of them.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't last. It doesn't. They don't care. A man of understanding, listen, if they're like that, you know, don't sign for them. Don't try to put your hand and go for them. So that seems cruel. No, it's common sense. And we read this proverb more than one time about don't be surety, the guarantee for someone else. It gets you into trouble. You know, I'm reminded of a family trying to help somebody else out. Like, don't do it. Don't do it. Brother Glenn, I don't know what I'm going to do. So what? You know, they can't live. And So what's wrong? Well, I've been paying their light bill for 6 months. They ain't got nothing, and they expect me to do it now. You put your name, did you sign for them to get their lights turned on? I wonder why they're still paying it. That's been a long time ago. I think it was a time you could sign for somebody else to get them. And she was like, I'm still paying it. Anyway, well, he loveth transgression that loveth strife. He that exalteth his gate seeketh destruction. Who exalts his gate seeks destruction. You know, you sit at the gate as where, of course, you had the leadership, the council, you had the courts. But he that loveth his transgression, he loves strife. He that exalted his gate sits at the gate, seeks destruction. Again, he's pointing out some things about how people that love trouble, transgression, doing wrong, this is the way they are. They love strife. He that exalteth, does it say anything different than the NIV? He that exalteth his gate.
This is he who builds a high gate.
Yeah.
Invites destruction. That's what it says.
The second part, I never could figure. I've looked at 2 commentaries. I couldn't figure it out. That's a hard one. All right, verse 20. He that hath a froward heart findeth no good, and he that hath a perverse tongue falleth into mischief. Common. He who is deceitful finds no good, a deceitful heart. Those are perverse tongue falls in evil. It's a natural thing for them. 21. He that begetteth a fool doeth it to his sorrow, and the father of a fool hath no joy. Now, we have to think about foolish people. Who begets a fool? Now, your Bible might say a scoffer. Does that say a scoffer or fool?
Ours says fool.
This one doesn't. He that begetteth a fool doeth it sorrow, and a father of a fool hath no joy. Read about the fool, the person who does. We say, think of it like this, not in a derogatory, like trying to be mad at somebody and to use it in a bad word, but someone who is foolhardy. They don't care. They do whatever they want. They're selfish. They don't bring no joy. They bring sorrow. Always bring sorrow. 22. A merry heart doeth good like medicine, but a broken spirit drieth bones. By the way, that's another one that's very good. A merry heart is like medicine. I mean, it makes you feel so good. But man, a broken spirit, it drieth the bones. By the way, that's how deep it goes, to the bones. Merry heart, it's very good for your body as well. Happy people get better in the hospitals, and happy people that always live better lives. Bitter people frown, no. A broken spirit, it dries to the bones. A broken spirit. Let's go to the next one. A wicked man taketh a gift out of the bosom to pervert the ways of judgment. A wicked man accepts a bribe behind the back to pervert the ways of justice. A wicked man taketh a gift out of the bosom, behind the back, to pervert the ways of judgment. It takes a bribe. If you'll do this here, I'll take care of you. Wisdom is before him that hath understanding, but the eyes of a fool are in the ends of the earth. In other words, it's a long ways off. The eyes of the fool are on the ends of the world, the ends of the earth. In other words, they're not focused. But wisdom is before the eyes of him that hath understanding. But the eyes of a fool, they're not there. A foolish son is a grief to his father, and bitterness to her that bare him. Foolishness, a fool or a foolish son. Again, that same thing about he's just whatever he likes, he does it, or she does it. Also, to punish the just is not good, nor to strike princes for equity. I'll read in the other one. Nor to strike princes for their uprightness, that does what's right. Punish the righteous is not a good thing. Strike princes because of them doing what is right. That's incorrect for equity, doing right. In other words, treating people wrong because they do the right thing. That happens early on. Probably you probably had that, Brother Andre. You played a lot of ball. And I can tell you there are a lot of times you play with some guys, you tell the truth on your team. Hey, man, we always say it wasn't out on us. They get mad at you for telling the truth. And that's the way they'll condemn you for doing what's right. We need to seek what is correct, though. We need to seek what is right. How many of you, well, many of you, you're not old enough. Brother Bobby, you might remember this, and some of the other, I know Brother Wendell and Brother Andre and I remember it. I barely remember it. The Watergate trial. Remember the Watergate trials? Remember all all that? The Democrats and Republicans had to come together because you couldn't deny it. He was a Republican, by the way. But they were caught red-handed, and they were stealing information, but it was you kind of all had to come to an agreement. We don't have anything like that now. No matter how bad it is, they will not believe the truth. It was a different world back then. Even in those days, we had the same corruptness in so many respects, but there was more where you didn't condemn people that were doing the right thing. They'd come together and say, no, this is right. Yeah, I'm sorry. It didn't matter who you are. That's just wrong. Let's move on. 27. He that hath knowledge spareth his words, and a man of understanding is of an excellent spirit. He's got knowledge, spareth his words. What it means to spare the words?
Mm-hmm. It says uses words with restraint.
Yeah. Keep them short and sweet, right? Don't elaborate. You know, that's anybody remember who's had to go to the courtroom and you've been there trying cases. What's the first thing they tell you? If they ask you a question, answer the question. Don't say nothing else. Don't elaborate. Few words, right? Yeah. Always say few words. Don't say much else. You'll condemn yourself.
Kiss.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
That's right. Don't say much. But that's what his point is. He that's got knowledge, he spareth his words. He uses few words. He says what he needs to say because he's got understanding. However, a man of understanding has an excellent spirit. Oh, we just read that last night, didn't we? Couldn't say it. There was an excellent spirit in him. Love that word. 28. Even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise. He that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding. There's an old saying we've got about that one. But look, guys, by the way, if you've ever heard this or read this before, here's where it comes from in verse 28. Better to be a fool and keep your mouth shut and nobody will know it than to open your mouth and everybody knows who you are. That's what he's pointing out. Even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise. Even a man of poor understanding, when they say something, you don't say nothing. Good. Considered a wise person when he does that. He that shutteth his lips, I think he's speaking about keeping your tongue and restraint, not saying too much, because you can say things and get it out of hand. I tell you, there's a lady in the public eye that does this all the time. It's our vice president. She will talk so slow, but I think she kind of loses her train of thought and has a hard way to get back to it. You ever notice that?
She talks in circles.
Yeah. She'll start talking and then say about talking that when I speak, and she just,
I'm just like that.
yeah, it's just that way.
It's bright outside on a sunny day.
Yeah. I think that's true.
She'll say it's bright outside on a sunny day.
Yeah. Like John Madden. Yeah, the joke about John Madden. Yeah, if he falls on the field and there's mud on the field, he's going to have a muddy jersey. Okay. This is common sense. But even a fool holds their peace is a wise person. I love that. Some of these are really profound. Let's move on. Chapter 18. Through desire, a man haveth separated himself. Man having separated himself, seeketh and intermeddleth with all wisdom. A man who isolates himself seeks his own desire. Excuse me. Through desire, a man. 18 verse 1.
Okay.
Read it out of yours because it's different.
An unfriendly man pursues selfish ends. He defies all sound judgment.
All right.
Then what does one say in yours?
You got read the King James Version, brother. You got the King James 18 verse 1.
A man who isolates himself seeks his own desire. He rages against all wise judgment.
That means he intermeddleth. King James is hard. I'll read the King James. Through desire, a man, having separated himself, seeketh and intermeddleth with all wisdom. In other words, he rages against what? Intermeddleth against good wisdom. Through desire of a man, his own desire, having separated himself, means he isolates himself. He seeks and intermeddleth his own desire. And he rages against wise judgment. In other words, I'm right and everybody else is wrong. I'm right, everybody else is wrong. They know everything. You ever meet any people like that? Try being in my profession. I've read this, Dr. Harris. I know how that works. I read this on the internet. Okay. All my knowledge and all my reading and all the studying I've done, with all the double-blind, placebo-controlled trials, that's why we do this. That stuff causes this. Okay. You can't tell me it doesn't.
Why come to me then?
Yeah, you can't say those things, but you know that's always the thought, because you have the same thing happen to you, having to come to tell you. I know this year. You know, it's like me telling the electrician how to. You can't tell me. I know that's no. But again, this is what a man, his own selfish desires, right? It seeks his own desire. He rages against wisdom because he wants it his way. 2, a fool hath no delight in understanding, but that his heart may discover itself. He wants to do what he wants to do, express his own heart. He wants to do what he wants to do. He doesn't like it. He don't want to understand. I don't want to have to do all those things. I like to have a good time. But guess what? They feel somebody ought to give me some money. I'm always astounded how somebody's poor and they say, well, somebody goes, you ain't got a job. Yeah, but we're poor. People try to help somebody. You don't go to work every day. You know, you really should. You need to get a job and go to work. You say those, and this happened to me, which I say because of where I'm at. I live in Scotland County. And when they desegregated schools, I was in the 3rd grade. And I went to a school where it was white and black, and probably we had like 1% Indian in our county. Went a lot of them. And they'll tell me about how, well, you know, we lacked opportunity. Well, look where I'm at. Yeah, but, you know, you probably went to one of them rich schools. And I went to the same school you went to. You know, I went in late because it was poison the buds of tobacco. I didn't play sports but I went to had the same black and white teachers and got a good education. Great education. You had opportunity. You didn't take advantage of it. It just happens. But when you start making excuses, because I wanted to do what I wanted to do, they partied. I remember going, we were like 40, I forget how old we were, but it was one of our reunions. And I'm thinking, man, you stay with mom and dad, you're over 40 years old, you ain't got your own house, you're paying on a truck and working here and there. But it's just, they never see it. You need to work. You need to have, no. A fool hath delight in understanding, no delight in understanding. He wants to discover his own heart. He wants to do whatever his heart desires. And he's happy with it. So when I die, I'll be happy. That's fine. But then they come looking up, can I have some of what you got? Remember the little hen that prepared? Yeah. When the wicked cometh, then cometh also contempt, and with ignominy, reproach. When the wicked comes, contempt comes also, and with dishonor comes reproach. Dishonorable. When wicked comes, contempt comes. He brings it. Wicked people always think, well, they know it's right, and you're wrong, and you should have done so and so. You should have done this.
That's why they hold you up.
Yeah. You know, Dr. Harris, you're supposed to love everybody. No, I don't. Yes, you're supposed to love everybody. That's the Christian thing to do. No, it ain't. Not your kind of love. I am quick to remind, that's one thing that bothers me. It's a dagger to my heart when somebody tells me about, well, you don't love people, you need to love people. Why do I have to love them? Prove it to me. It's the right thing to do. Why is it right? Tell me. It's a Christian thing. Where in the Bible does it say that? I just pin people down and they can't find it. If you tell me you know what real love is? Tell a man going to hell that you're going to hell, that God loved you and he died in your place. Tell him that. That's real love. Real love is to tell a person how to be saved. We get these. And by the way, these are Christian people. We got to love everybody. So I'm just bold enough to tell people, no, you got the wrong kind of love. You don't know what love is. He that is absolute false. The words of a man's mouth is as deep waters, and the wellspring of wisdom as a flowing brook. He says the words of a man's mouth are deep waters. The wellspring of wisdom is a flowing brook. Boy, I tell you, when a man's speech is right, the words of your mouth, deep waters. But a wellspring of wisdom, I mean, it's like the wellspring means it keeps springing up. Plenty of wisdom. It is not good to accept the person of the wicked, to overthrow the righteous in judgment. Oh my goodness. It's not good to show partiality to the wicked or to overthrow the righteous in judgment. Same thing was said before, just a different way. We got to get rid of that guy. What was his name? Daniel? Got to get rid of him. He's no good. Why? Because he's always right. He does everything right. We had that last night. It was a profound step. Fits here. A fool's lips enter into contention, and his mouth calleth for strokes.
What's that?
Blows. Hit. In other words, in those days, when you went to jail, it's like this. You go to jail, you got convicted of stealing, right? They didn't put you in jail. They took you outside, tied you to a tree, and you got blows. What was that place? Remember the kid during the Clinton administration? Guy was caught in Singapore, done something wrong. They was going to cane him. They had the caning over there. And they're trying, please, we got to get him home. He's a good boy. They're going to get caned like everybody else. So they public caning a person. Get a cane and you beat the guy. So you let him go home. It's kind of one of those things that really works.
It's vandalizing cars. That's what people couldn't. Like in America, was like, I can't believe you're going to beat him for vandalizing 3 or 4 cars.
But he won't do it no more. Yeah, going to cane him. They're going to, it's public too, by the way. He's going to take a public, you tie him around a tree, find a post, and you sit there and you just wail on him. I mean, you bring the blood out. When you finish, guess what? You got to go to jail, son. I'm going home. You good. Just don't come back. You know what happens if you come back? It's a deterrent.
You couldn't do that over here.
No. Would it work, though?
Yeah, it would work.
You think it would work? Absolutely would work. People don't like pain. They don't. So, verse number 6.
Public, they can see it.
We'll start chapter 18, verse 7, brother Cam. 18, verse 7. But it would absolutely work.
Yeah, if you can see it, too, people getting hit by that.
Listen, I grew up in a time when I am 7 years old. My name was one of the names on the back of the little slip about this big in a school bus. And only those people could sit there. When you sat there, you had to be quiet. If you spoke, sometimes you slip up and wasn't even thinking you said something. You got paddled. That's how quiet it had to be on the bus. Remember them days? You stayed in line.
Oh, yeah, you get talked on the bus.
You would get spanked. Listen, you got paddled if you didn't eat everything on your plate when you ate in the cafeteria.
We got paddled if we missed a spell word.
Yeah. Hey, guess what? That was even if your parents sent food with you. Your mom and daddy set that for you to eat. You didn't eat all of it. Come on.
They never do that.
Listen. Y'all have that? Well, I was at an all-Indian school. I don't know where y'all went. Really? It was the only one in Scotland County. It was called Oak Grove. The building's still standing. Well, I tell you what, it was we were in line, and they were the same people but they were so good to us. I mean, they really were. I mean, they'd always take everybody else home. We were the last one to get the bus, but they would go outside and play with us in the afternoons. They were kind to us. And if you had all kind of get-togethers, bring hot dogs for us to eat, but you didn't get out of line. You had rules. So we understood those things. We had a boy who was held back about 4 years. I think he was like 17. He was in the 8th grade. And we heard he got mad one day, and boy, he was going to come back. He's threatened the principal, and he ran home. He left walking home. Said he'd be back with a knife. Mr. A.G. died. He didn't call the police. He just cut him, went into the woods. He got him a limb. He said, come back, I'll take care of it. He'd have beat him to death. That was just literally how it was done then. It wasn't tolerated. It was a different world. But people stayed in line. You just didn't get out of line. But that kind of thing works. But no, we'll never have that here like that.
That time's gone.
Yeah, but it really, a lot of people but they're young people, young boys that would never try what they try, that would be saved. We got some good boys, I believe. I mean, good mean not that, but good. You want me to time? Okay. I'm getting that look. We'll stand and have a word of prayer and be dismissed. What did I say, Brother Cam? 18 verse 7. Okay. Have a blessed evening. Oh, yeah, we got a lot of comment. Y'all.